Hi everybody, thanks for watching. In today's episode of Quick Tips for your Mavic Pro, I'm going to discuss three things. First, I'm going to talk about camera sensor size for our drones and what does it actually mean. Next, I'm going to go over my pre-flight procedures for my Mavic Pro. And lastly, I have just a little something to say in regards to the Mavic Pro 2. So let's get right to it. First of all, welcome to the channel and thanks for stopping by. My name is Russ and this is 51 Drones. I ask that you watch a few of my videos, and if you like what you see, click on that subscribe button and join a community where we all learn from each other. Now, my first tip is not so much a tip as it is a bit of education. I get this question sometimes, so I did some research on it, and it has to do with camera sensor size. If you have the Mavic Pro or the Mavic Air, you may already know that it has a 1/2.3 inch sensor. In comparison, the Phantom 4 Pro has a 1 inch sensor. So what does this mean? First of all, when the sensor is called a 1/2.3 inch or a 1 inch, that's not the actual size. This designation is pretty antiquated and for some reason continues to be used today. Now bear with me a little bit as I give you a brief history lesson. 50 plus years ago, the world of video ran on glass vacuum tubes. Video cameras contained glass vacuum tubes, and that was the equivalent of what is a sensor today. Now there were several kinds, but they all were defined by the outside diameter of the glass. You know, there were 1/2 inch tubes and 2/3 inch tubes and so on. The actual sensing areas were smaller, but everyone just used the tube diameter as a reference. For some weird reason, those numbers have not changed. Manufacturers call a sensor that is actually 6.2 by 4.5 millimeters a 1/2.3 sensor. And a 1 inch sensor is really about a 13 by 9 millimeter. Now, these actual measurements vary a bit depending upon manufacturer, but they're close. As for the Mavic Pro and the Mavic Air, like I said, they have a 1/2.3 sensor. I cut out a couple of rectangles here to demonstrate the difference. Now, if you call DJI and you ask them, hey, what's the actual measurement of your sensor? They're not going to tell you. For some reason, it's a huge secret that they don't tell anybody, and no manufacturer does reveal their actual sensor size. So they just call it a 1 inch or a 1/2 inch or whatever. But the actual size doesn't really matter. What does matter is the difference between a 1/2 sensor and a 1 inch sensor. It's a big difference. Now, why is this important? A bigger sensor allows more light, more information to be collected, and less noise. This provides a much more detailed and high quality image. It gives you more opportunities in low light situations to walk away with spectacular photos and video. It's more important for photos, but it's also very important for video. So when you compare the footage from a Mavic Pro to say like a Phantom 4 Pro, that's one of the most important reasons that the Phantom footage looks better. Yes, megapixels are important and mechanical shutter, adjustable aperture, bitrate, and so on. But the base of that entire pyramid is the image sensor. Now, is a 1/2.3 inch sensor garbage? No, not at all. For 90% of us, it's perfect. But for professionals who rely on quality and precision to make a living and who are looking to provide their clients with jaw-dropping images, it's pretty important. Now, the next thing I wanted to show y'all today is my pre-flight procedure for each time that I fly. You should always have a routine you go through before you fly, and you should always conduct regular assessments of your drone and its components. Now, my steps are quite simple and quick, and there's others out there that get a little more involved, but I just wanted to share mine with you. There are kind of two routines that I go through. If I know I'm going to fly ahead of time, I do a pre-flight check the day before. So the first thing that I do is I check the weather. You can use your favorite weather app. I just use the Weather Channel app, and I click on hourly. In particular, I'm looking for the wind forecast. The second thing that I check, and this is not commonly checked, but it's the KP index. I use an app called Solar Activity, but there are a few out there. It gives a factual as well as a forecast of the KP index, which basically tells me if I might encounter any loss of GPS. One of the most frightening things to experience is for your drone to flip into ATTI mode while you're flying. A high KP index is known to cause some of these issues, especially if there's an index over 6. Next thing I do is I make sure that I have everything packed. My drone, my controller, my cables, extra props, car charger, my landing pad, my iPad mini 2 if I'm going to be using it. I won't use that if I'm using the screen capture software. I'll use my phone because for some reason the CPU cannot handle flying a drone and running the screen capture software. So I'll use my phone for that. And then I make sure I have a couple of extra micro SD cards. And also if I'm working on say like a YouTube video, I make sure I have my camera and micro SD cards for that, my microphone, my tripods. my Osmo Mobile 2. Then I make sure I have all of my batteries charged. I always check that because if I haven't flown in 5 days or more, the Mavic batteries will start to auto discharge. Then I pack it all up and I set it by the door. Right before the flight, I do an actual pre-flight. Not in any particular order, but what I do is I inspect the props, I remove the gimbal clamp and I inspect the gimbal. I make sure that the Wi-Fi switch is not on. I've done that a few times. I make sure that my SD card is installed. I've done that more than a few times. Once the DJI Go 4 app opens, if there's any warnings such as compass calibration or anything, I take care of those. Then I check all of my settings and I adjust them for what I want to achieve on that particular flight. Then I start the motors by pulling the sticks down and in. Now, because I launch manually, I always make sure that I ascend to at least 10 meters to ensure that the precision landing will work if I ever have to hit that return to home button. You can also launch with auto launch. Once you engage that, it will ask you if you want to toggle the precision landing on. I would always check that box, you guys. Honestly, I really don't understand why you wouldn't want precision landing. Once you slide it over, the drone will ascend on its own to the proper height. Now, once a month, I'll do a more detailed inspection of my drone. I recommend getting yourself a 1.5 millimeter Allen wrench like this one and check all of your screws. Just make sure that nothing is loose. Then I'll use a microfiber cloth and I just wipe everything down, like the sensors and the lens and everything. And then I inspect the batteries as well. I want to make sure that their connecting parts aren't getting worn. Now, it only takes about 5 minutes to do all this, and it really could save your drone someday. So that's pretty much it for my pre-flight and my pre-flight. Like I said, it's pretty simple, but pre-flights are important to make sure you have a safe and enjoyable flight. And the last thing that I want to touch on today has to do with the Mavic Pro 2. I know I said I wouldn't feed the monster, but I get asked quite often from people looking to buy their first drone. They ask me, would you buy the Mavic Pro now or wait until the Mavic Pro 2 comes out? First of all, I love my Mavic Pro and I also love my Mavic Air. They're both great drones, but for different reasons. Now, between the two, ultimately the Mavic Pro is my first choice. Concerning the Mavic Pro 2, it will definitely be a better drone, no doubt. But better for who? You know, professionals or hobbyists? I think we can all agree that it will have a 1-inch sensor or a 13x9 millimeter, as you now know, which is going to step up the image quality tremendously. It may even have a mechanical shutter and adjustable aperture and so on, but with all of these things, you guys, comes significant cost. Will it be a great first drone? That remains to be seen. Now, is the Mavic Pro a great first drone? Speaking from someone who's never flown a drone before I got the Mavic Pro, I can say absolutely yes. It is the perfect drone for beginners, and it's getting less expensive, which makes it more accessible. My bottom line is this, you guys, and if you take away anything from this video, I want it to be this. Buy the drone that you can afford to lose. If you crashed your drone or decided to take a one-way trip somewhere, would it be devastating to you financially or just a setback? My recommendation is don't pick devastating. So that's it for this episode of Quick Tips for your Mavic Pro. I hope you got something of value out of it. If you did, click on that thumbs up button. Let me know that you liked it. If you didn't like it, go ahead and watch some of my other videos and maybe you'll like one of those. Comment below if you have any questions or comments and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. And once again, finally, please click on that subscribe button and join this community. I want to thank you guys sincerely for watching, and as always, fly safe and fly smart.